welcome again to the Tuesday night shiur, Parashat Shelach. You know that this parasha speaks about the meraglim, the spies, and the sin of the spies. So I just want to look at different angles at really what was the sin of the spies, what they did wrong. And you see that it says, Hashem spoke to Moshe and said, Shelach lecha anashim v'atiru teret Knan. Let them go and tour the land and see what's going on. Bnei Yisrael, ish echad lemateh avotav tishlechu kol nasi bahem. So it says that Moshe sent the Nesiim, and we know that these Nesiim, each person was obviously a tzaddik. And that's why Hashem says to Moshe, Shlach lecha kmotcha, they're like you. So it's very hard to understand what happened with the Nesiim when they went there to Israel, and you see that Moshe Rabbeinu really knew that they were going to make a mistake because he prayed for Yoshua, Ya Yoshiacha miyatzat meraglim, from the advice of the meraglim. Very interestingly, now when I was in Eretz Yisrael, I was zochet to be in the kever of Yoshua ben Nun. They only open up and Kalev ben Yefuneh, because in Eretz Yisrael, Parashat Shelach Lecha was last week.
And they only open it up once a year.
And they only open up a couple times a year because it's in an Arab village, and you have to have army escorts taking you. So I went to the kever of Kalev ben Yefuneh, and I went to the kever of Yoshua ben Nun. And it was a very, very inspiring event. It was very last minute. You get to the Arab village, they drop you off. You have to walk about 20 minutes, and you're walking throughout the whole Arab, the villages as they see you walking up. And we never know. It's very interesting that they were zocheh. They merited to have Kalev ben Yefuneh and Yoshua ben Nun buried over there. But nonetheless, you see that Yoshua and Kalev were not part of this thing. And we have to understand that comes the Rebbe Misatmer, and he says, and he asks an interesting question. He says, "Ubeguf hadavar," we have to understand be'emet, ra'ui lidbonen, let's try to analyze ma yachetam shel hameraglim. What was the sin? V'kmo shetamar Ramban, really the Ramban already asked this question. הרי לא סיפרו אלא מה שראו עיניהם מגודל הפירות וחוזק הערים וגבורות העם היושב עליה. Really, when the spies went to Eretz Yisrael, what did they do? They said, listen, we came to a land, and the people there are giants, and it's a really fortified land, and look at the fruits of this land, they're huge fruits. What did they do wrong? All they did, Moshe said, go and spy on the land. They went and they spied on the land. And that was the reason that Moshe Rabbeinu sent them. So what was their sin? Moshe Rabbeinu said, listen, go and see the land. They came back and said, listen, Moshe Rabbeinu, the land is like this. There's big people there, there's giants, it's fortified, right? So it's fortified land. So he asked, what did you want them to do? You wanted them to lie? And you see that even Moshe Rabbeinu, says the Rebbe Misatmer, even Moshe Rabbeinu himself, when he described the land, he said to them, Shema Yisrael, ata over hayom et hayarden, today you're going over the Jordan River, lavo lereshet goyim gdolim, great nations, va'atzumim mimcha, and they're bigger and they're greater than you. So really, you see Moshe Rabbeinu at the time when Am Yisrael was about to enter the land, he's telling them, you're going to go and conquer nations that are greater than you. Upsorot b'shamayim am gadol v'ram bnei anakim, children of giants. Moshe Rabbeinu himself told them, listen, where you're about to go, it's a serious place. And it's going to be fortified. And the people there are serious. So what did the meraglim do that was wrong? So it comes the Ramban, and that's the Ramban's whole question. How can you come and ask the meraglim, you went and you came back, okay, so they're giants, they're like this, they're like that, their fruits is huge. What did they do wrong? They said exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu told them to do. So that's the Ramban's question. The Ramban asks this question, he says, really, that was their question. What did they do wrong? Because really, Moshe Rabbeinu himself did the same thing. Comes the Shelach, and the Shelach also asks the same question. He says, really, you know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, go and send the Meraglim. So what was their sin? What was their sin that they sinned? They really came back, and they went, and they reported what they saw in the land. And really what we have to see over here is, Yeshua was already protected. Moshe Rabbeinu changed the name of Yeshua. And Kalev ben Yefuneh saw what the Meraglim were doing. He understood that in their words there's something hidden. And he went to the kever of the Avot, he went to the graves of the Avot, and he started to pray not to be taken in by their ideas. So we're going to have to see what Kalev didn't want to be lured into. Comes the Likutei Halachot, Rabbi Natan Bresov says to us, he says like this. He says, really, what was their sin? And we're going to give a few different examples of what their sin was, an understanding. He says like this, Ki ha-meraglim pagbu bezeh me'od me'od. The Meraglim, they did a very big pigam, which means there was a problem with them. What did the Meraglim do? Imagine these people. They're the people that are probably one of the smartest in the conceptualization of the understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he says like this, Ki emunah imadrega chona. Emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the last level that we all strive to. Most people would think, what? It's the first level, right? It says emunah is the last level, meaning the highest level that we all strive to. You would think, what do you mean? Emunah is the number 1, 2, 3 of Judaism, right? What do you mean it's the last level that we all strive to? So he says, Ki gvar ba'u lemadregat hadat shegavoa yoter al kol. They already had such a big dat, they had such a big understanding, and they didn't want to nullify their understanding to Eretz Yisrael. It's very interesting. When the Meraglim spoke, V'yachol, Lashon Hara. We'll have to see what the Lashon Hara was. When they spoke Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael, what happened to them? What was their punishment? Their tongues came out, and where did their tongues stop?
Tabur.
In their tabur. Tabur is what in English?
Stomach.
No, tabur is what? It's where your umbilical cord is hooked onto, right?
Belly button.
Your belly button. It's where so why did their tongue, the mitah that the Meraglim died with was called mitat askara. Mitat askara is a mitah that happens to a person that speaks Lashon Hara. So the Mefarshim ask a very interesting question. They ask, why did their tongues, when they came out, they died a mitah meshuna? Their tongues came out and they had things going down their tongues. Worms, some people say. And they went all the way to their tabur. Why did they go all the way to their belly button? Why didn't it stop at their chest? Because some of the Mefarshim say something very interesting. He says when a person comes out to the world, what happens to him? His belly button closes and his mouth opens. He says it would have been better for the Meraglim that their belly button stayed open and their mouth stayed shut. Meaning that they never came out to the world. Because you should know that Chet HaEgel was connected to the Chet HaMeraglim. How do we know that? Because Rashi comes and tells us something interesting. We know, the Gemara in Sanhedrin says like this, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, En lecha kol poranut veporanut shebao la'olam, she'en ba echad mi-24 be'echal litra shel egel harishon, she'nemar bayom pakadti pakdei alam chatatam. Every tzara, every hardship that comes down to the world is connected to the Chet HaEgel. What happened in Chet HaEgel? Interesting scenario. Why did Am Yisrael do the sin of the golden calf? Vayikya mitboshesh. They saw that Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't coming down, even more. The Midrash comes and tells us that what did they see? The Malach HaMavet came and showed them that Moshe Rabbeinu was dead. And when they saw that Moshe Rabbeinu was dead, right, they said, oh, we're going to have to build something else to take us up to Eretz Yisrael. Look what Rashi says. Rashi says that really what happened was that even after the the chet of the Meraglim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu dictated, Yom B'Shana, Shana B'Yom, that for every day that the Meraglim went in Eretz Yisrael, which was 40 days, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it that they do it quicker, Am Yisrael in the desert, right, is going to go through 40 years and nobody's going to make it above 60. Look at what she said. Lo met echad miem pachot mi ben 60, לכן נגזר 40 כדי שיהיו אותם של בני 20 מגיעים לכלל 60. ושנה ראשונה היה בכלל, ואף על פי כשקדמה לשלוח המרגלים. הקדוש ברוך הוא did an extra miracle. Nobody in the Dor HaMidbar died less than 60. לפי שמעשה, now what happened? Really at the time of the Chet HaEgel, already HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want to bring Am Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. Meaning you didn't need the Chet HaMeraglim. You hear? At the time of the Chet HaEgel, it was already sealed. Allah, look what Rashi said. לפי שעשו את העגל, עלתה גזירה זו במחשבה. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was already כביכול thinking about it, אלא שהמתין להם עד שהתמלא שעתם. Chet HaEgel was the beginning of the Dor HaMidbar not coming into Eretz Yisrael. Now, the truth is, if you look at the deeper sense of the Chet HaMeraglim, really they were never meant to go into Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because the neshama of the Meraglim, the souls of the Meraglim, it's a little bit deep, but just take it at face value for now. They're sourced in Le'ah. And if you're for a neshama of Le'ah, you have no rights to go into Eretz Yisrael. You could never come into Eretz Yisrael. You hear? So anyways, what did they do wrong? They would never be able to come to Eretz Yisrael anyways, because they come from the neshama of Le'ah. Nonetheless, Rashi says, "Va'af kan ne'emar tisu et avonotchem velo avonochem, shte avonot shel egel v'shel tluna." So these two things, what happens is, what sealed the fate of the Dor HaMidbar was the Chet HaEgel. Chet HaEgel ala b'machshava. HaKadosh Baruch Hu thought about it. I'm not going to let them into Eretz Yisrael. If they wouldn't have done the Chet HaMeraglim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have nullified the Chet HaEgel. They would have gone into Eretz Yisrael. Once they did the Chet HaMeraglim, the sin of the spies, the Chet of the Machshava, which ala b'machshava, which was the Chet of the Egel, now that sealed it with the Chet of the Meraglim. But we still don't know what they did wrong. So look what he says. He says like this. So he says, really, Emunah is the last stage that a person has to go through. Why is Emunah the last stage? It says, Ki midat ha'emunah shezochim be'eretz Yisrael, af al pi shi madrega achona, even though this Emunah is the last stage, af al pi chen al yada dai ka'olim al kol ha'madregot kulam. From the Emunah that gets infused from Eretz Yisrael, by the way, why is Tabur? Tabur means like the middle. Eretz Yisrael is also Tabur Shel Olam. Eretz Yisrael is the middle of the world. Eretz Yisrael is like the heart of the world. The same way as a person has a heart, Eretz Yisrael is like that also. It's the center of everything. So, he says that what happens over here, if they would have gone into Eretz Yisrael, and they would have nullified their dat, they would have come to an auspicious desire. A ratzon muflag, he says. Ratzon muflag means they'll have a great, auspicious desire that's uncontrollable to get close to Hashem. She'oleh al hakol, v'zeh b'chinat Eretz Yisrael, she'yu המרגלים לסלק שם דעתם ולקשר עצמם לבחינת אמונה. They needed to connect themselves to something that was called emunah. Okay. Still, that doesn't answer your question. So it seems like the Meraglim that were on a great level, because they were on Shedat, and Shedat means that they knew the closeness of Hashem. They were at like people that were considered to be friends of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shlach lecha anashim kmotcha, like you. So what would they do wrong? So they didn't have emunah. What does that mean? They didn't nullify themselves to the emunah. And he says, and because of this, that they didn't connect themselves to the level of emunah, they were gorem b'chiyah ledorot. Because of this, the first Beit HaMikdash is destroyed, the second Beit HaMikdash is destroyed, and every year on Tisha B'Av, a person sits to cry. So that's Rabbi Natan. Rabbi Natan says, that's what he said. So now comes the Shelach Kadosh. And he says something interesting. He says, you're right. They were supposed to go there, and they were supposed to look at the land. And what is the person exactly? They were supposed to see everything that they said was right. They were supposed to see that really, you want to know something? We can't conquer Eretz Yisrael. They were supposed to come back and tell Am Yisrael, listen, this land, very fortified. People there, big. We were like grasshoppers in their eyes. We can't do this on our own. What were they supposed to realize at that moment? Look at the word. It says, "V'yakiru ki la'Hashem ha'yeshua she'Hashem ish milchama." They should have realized at that moment when they went to Eretz Yisrael that really it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's going to save us. Really, the whole purpose of the Meraglim to go is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did want them to see how strong the land was. He did want them to see that there were giants there. He did want them to see that this was an Eretz Ochelet Yoshveh. You're right, this is a land that eats its inhabitants. Everything you're seeing is 100% right. But what's the conclusion that you're supposed to come to? And they were supposed to realize that what? That really nature, through the power of nature, we can't conquer these people. That, like Moshe Rabbeinu said, Shema Yisrael atem ovrim hayom et hayarden, lareshet goyim gdolim v'atzumim, you're going to conquer people that are greater than you. And don't say in your heart, no, we can't do it because they're greater than us. Lo tira mehem. Says the Shelach Kadosh, Lo tira mehem. You're not supposed to fear them. What does that mean? So again, really, until now, the Meraglim did everything that what they were supposed to do. Now, what's emunah? Everybody takes it lightly, like they know, I believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does emunah mean? I believe in God. Look what the Tanya says. ולכן כל ישראל אפילו נשים ועמי הארצות הם מאמינים בהשם. Everybody believes in God. You don't have to be a Talmid Chacham to have emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. שאמונה היא למעלה מן הדעת וההשגה. What's emunah? How does one take emunah? It says it's above dat, it's above logic, and it's above comprehension. If you believe in a Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's not logical. You can't comprehend why I believe in a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And look what he says. How am I now? He says, that's emunah. Emunah is something that's above comprehension. Emunah is something that's above logic. Ki peti yamin lechol davar. Who believes everything? A foolish person, right? It says we're all v'alum yavin v'lagabe HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're all foolish. When it comes to believing everybody, somebody's going to call you gullible. But when it comes to emunah v'kadosh baruch Hu, we're all foolish and we're all gullible. V'lagabe HaKadosh Baruch Hu shu lemala me'asechel v'adat, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is above everything. He's above comprehension. Like the Rambam says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the achdut, the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not something that we can understand. To fully understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you'll never fully understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why the Rambam says, Tachlit ha'ediyah shelo neda. The highest level of coming to a person realizes that the highest level of knowing is not knowing. Velet machshavat tifise baklal. Akol kepeteim etzlo yitbarach. Everybody's foolish by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ki dichtiv, v'ani bar v'lo eda be'emot ha'iti itach. Says David HaMelech, you know what I'm like with you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Like an animal. Like a behemah. A behemah has no logic. A behemah has no intellect. Your emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to be like an animal that's believed in Hashem. No logic. No comprehension. Comes the Nefesh HaChaim and says something interesting. Says, emunah, how do I get out of a troubled situation? It says, ובאמת הוא עניין גדול וסגולה נפלאה להסיר ולבטל מעליו כל דינים ורצונות אחרים שלא יכלו לשלוט פה. When a person has mitigations on him, when he has desires that come and take him away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he says it's a big sgula that in order that they shouldn't make an impression on you, ולא יעשו שום רושם כלל, כשאדם קובע בליבו לאמור, when a person puts it in his heart to say, Alo Hashem hu Elokim ha'amiti ve'en od milvado. Hashem is the God of gods, and there is nothing but Him. Shum koach ba'olam. There's no other strength. Look at these beautiful words of the Nefesh HaChaim. Emunah means that a person puts it in his heart that there's nothing but a Kadosh Baruch Hu and od milvado, and this becomes a zgula for nothing to harm you. V'chol ha'olamot klal v'akol malay rak achtuto yitbarach shemo. ומבטל בליבו ביטול גמור ואינו משגיח על שום כוח ורצון בעולם. And he takes away any logic and any power that he seems to have power now over him. There's nothing but ein od milvado. So already from here you can see the hinting of what the Nefesh HaChaim says was the chet of the Meraglim. Now watch what happens. Comes the Ramban back and says, they didn't do anything wrong. They went and they told you it's a big land, it's a fortified land, there's giants there, Va'inu kechagavim benem. Everything you're saying is right. Then look at the fruits of this land. Ki eretz ochelet yoshveh. It's a land that eats its inhabitants. Says the Ramban, everything you're saying is right. Where did you make the mistake? Says the Ramban, Ki bi'er ki chatatam aya bemilat efes. What do they say? Efes lo nuchal la'alot. We won't be able to go up.
Right.
You see what the Meraglim did? They decreed their destiny. Sometimes we do that also. The Meraglim came back. What they reported wasn't the problem. The problem was their conclusion. What they saw was right. Efes kina le'alam. Now what happens? Comes Yoshua ben Nun and Kalev ben Yefuneh. And when the Meraglim come and they already get the people riled up and everybody starts to cry, no, we can't do it, it's an Eretz, Moshe, take us back down to Mitzrayim. All of a sudden, what did they do? They destroyed Am Yisrael's Emunah. So, comes Kalev ben Yefuneh and quiets everybody down. And really, you see by what Kalev ben Yefuneh does, he doesn't start to contradict what the Meraglim did. He doesn't come and say, no, the people are not big. No, the fruits are not big. Because what is the Meraglim says? We can't go up. Comes Kalev ben Yefuneh, and what does he say? Ale na'ale ve'arashnu ta ki yachol nochal la. No, we will go up, says Kalev. And yes, we will inherit the land. Why? Because we can. Now really, I'm going to share with you something interesting. We're in the year 1940. And we're located in Warsaw Ghetto. And in the Warsaw Ghetto, it's Shabbat afternoon. There are about 200 people gathering. And they're trying to deal with what's going on with them. Imagine people in the Holocaust. What's going on? They're in the Warsaw Ghetto. This is the year of 1940. They're realizing that they're in a bad situation. The date is June 14th. It's the fall of Paris. Everybody hears that France has now fallen in the hands of the Germans. And already later they heard that the English Channel in the Soviet Union was now under German control. Basically, you see that the Germans are slowly taking over everything. And now these people, these 200 people, are disheartened. Everything is against them. And there was a leader at that time. And that leader was a descendant of Rav Elimelech Milizhinsk. And he was the Pietzner Rebbe. And he says like this, and at that time he must have been 20 years old. And everybody's waiting for him, for Kalmus Kalman Shapira, his name was. They're all waiting for his instructions. Imagine a situation. You hear that now the Germans have taken over Paris. They're slowly taking over the other territories. What are we going to do? Nature is unfolding in front of these people and showing them that there's no hope. So comes this rabbi and says like this. Says, listen, we're in a similar situation. When the Jewish nation was set to enter the land, they were promised, but they were hesitant. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu sent them. He says, listen, bring back intelligence. I want to know what's going on. You're the CIA of the Dor HaMidbar, and as the CIA of the Dor HaMidbar, go report to me on what's going on. And these guys went for 40 days. He tells them over. And when they came back, everybody eagerly awaited. What are the Meraglim going to say about Eretz Yisrael? The whole reason we left Mitzrayim was to get into Eretz Yisrael. So the whole nation, talking about millions of people, are waiting to get the report of the CIA. What happened? And as they began talking, really everything they told him the same thing. And you see, he says, well, what does Kalev say? Kalev doesn't start to say, no, it's not a big land. This is what this rabbi is saying in the middle of the Warsaw Ghetto. And I'll read you the words. And he says like this, but Kalev did not share the sentiments of those people. What did he say? He silenced everybody. He silenced Am Yisrael, but he didn't contradict what the Meraglim were saying. And he said, let us go up and take over our land. And we will be able to do so. He didn't disagree with the report. So he says, this rabbi, he spoke to his community. He says, listen, we're in the same situation. We're in a dark cloud. We hear that the Germans are taking over. And the sovereignty of the Germans is becoming stronger and stronger. He says, but I want you to understand something. Emunah of a Jew doesn't not only when a Jew perceives that it's reasonable to believe according to the course of nature's events, then he'll say, oh, Hashem will save me. If he thinks that it's logical, and if the French are still able to save us, and the Russians are still able to save us, and he thinks, oh, we have emunah, that's not emunah. He says to them, I want you to know what emunah is. Emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu means when there's no realistic possibility for you to get out of your problem. And when you have faith in His salvation, that's emunah. Emunah is not when it's not, it makes sense. He told them we're in a Warsaw Ghetto, and we're in a dark cloud, and everything is against us. And as history is unfolding in front of us, it seems like there's no hope. He says that's what Kalev was trying to tell the Jewish people. Not that what the Meraglim were saying is wrong. Not that you're right, Al Pi Teva we can't go up. Al Pi nature we're going to lose. But lo na'aleh, we can and we will go up. Why? That's emunah. When a person has that kind of emunah, that as much as nature is telling you there seems no realistic possibility, and when you go up with that kind of emunah, that's what's going to conquer Eretz Yisrael. That's what Kalev was telling him. That was the message of Kalev. Not that he was trying to contradict the Meraglim. And that's what the Ramban says. The chet of the Meraglim was that they didn't nullify their da'at to emunah. They didn't take away their logic and their great understanding. They didn't nullify that to emunah. The chet of Meraglim is the chet that we do all the time. We believe in a Kadosh Baruch Hu when we see an opening. When you don't see an opening, what happens? You fall into despair. That was the chet of Meraglim. That's what a Kadosh Baruch Hu was telling Am Yisrael. You cried for no reason? What does that mean, you cried for no reason? The Meraglim gave him every reason to cry. No, you didn't have emunah. Because you didn't have an emunah, I'm going to send you a reminder every single year of what the going into despair means. You think I can only save you when there's a logical possibility? You think I can only save you when there's an opening? That's not emunah. That's why the Nefesh HaChaim says, the zgula for anything evil not to come and harass you is to believe that in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that enod milvado, that there's nothing but Him. You're right, that everything you're seeing in front of you is right. And it seems like there's no way out. Emunah means that even when there's no way out, Hashem is going to take him. That's why Kalev didn't try to contradict what the Meraglim would told him. He says, Alon Aleh, we will go up and we will conquer the land. You're right that there is no logical. You're right that realistically it's not possible. And we can't conquer the land. But what does he remind them? Look at what Kalev tells them. Really, Kalev told them what? And is that all Ben Amram did for us? Didn't Ben Amram bring down the man? What's the man? Against all logic. You're in the desert. Right? You're in the desert. You have nothing to eat. Oh, we're in the desert. There's no way out. Oh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Emunah, Daman. There's nothing to drink. Berashel Miriam. You have snakes and scorpions. The clouds of glory and Anei HaKavod are covering you. Says Kalev, at that moment, you see that Kalev at the whole time was never trying to contradict the Meraglim. All he was trying to do was infuse Am Yisrael with this new thing called Emunah. Because until now, your Emunah was what? If there's a realistic possibility, then yeah, we'll believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When there's no realistic possibility, you fall into despair. For that, itamu b'midbar. For that, you'll have to stay in the desert. For that, you won't be able to get into Eretz Yisrael. Because Eretz Yisrael, Enei Hashem ba mirishit hashana v'ad acharit hashana. Eretz Yisrael is the place of Hashgacha Pratit. Eretz Yisrael is a place where HaKadosh Baruch Hu's domain. It's not like when you live in Chutz La'aretz. When a person lives outside of Eretz Yisrael, that's the Malachim, that's the angel. But Eretz Yisrael is a place of constant miracles. That even when there's no possibly way out, there's Emunah. That's what the Shelach Kadosh says. He says, what Moshe was telling, "Keshtomu b'ken bilvacha shelo chala risham kem gdolim v'chazakim im lo be'ezrat Hashem yitbarach." Yeah, you'll say into your heart, you're right, we can't conquer them because they're stronger and they're more fortified. How do you get to a point where you don't fear them? He says, "Be'ezrat Hashem yitbarach az lo tira mehem ki hu yitbarach imach." When you realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you, and even though there's no realistic possible way of going up and conquering the land, that's the way, that's the key of Lo Tira Mehem. That's the key of not having a fear of them. The Meraglim, it's not possible. We can't conquer them. They didn't give in to the Emunah. That's why Rabbi Natan says that Emunah is the Madriga Achona. It's the last stage, but it's also the stage that opens up everything else. It's the window to get to higher and higher level. Because you're no longer at logic. You're no longer at understanding. You're no longer at 1, 2, 3. You're at a point where Enod Milvado, there's nothing but HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you get to a level when there's nothing but HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how capable you are. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to save you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take care of you. Lo tira mehem. That's why the Ramban says the chet of the Meraglim was never what they reported. The chet of the Meraglim was Ephes. They decreed their own destiny. We won't be able to go up. Comes Kalev ben Yefuneh and says, we will be able to go up. We will conquer. So that's the message of the Meraglim. Everybody has to be a Kalev ben Yefuneh. Your Yetzirah is going to come to you and he says to you, no, come on, you can't do it. Look, it's not possible. Look where you were yesterday. You're going to do it again. You're going to fall. Look at the situation that you're in. There's no realistic possible way. You can't get through this. You won't get a job. Your shalom bait is not good enough. You tried everything. What else is there to do? I went to this therapist. I went to that. I tried to appease my friend. Your family feud. Whatever it is that a person has in his life, he's done everything al pi hateva. He's done everything that he possibly could. That's what the rabbi was telling him in the Warsaw Ghetto. Emunah doesn't mean that when you see an opening, Bezat Hashem, it'll work out. God willing, it'll work out. No. Emunah is when you don't see an opening. That's what Kalev, that was the message of Kalev ben Yefuneh. Alon na'aleh v'nochal nochal. Yes, we will go up. And yes, we can. That's the message of this parasha. That when there is no opening, that's when the emunah kicks in. When there's an opening, you don't need an emunah. When all the doors are closed, that's when the door of emunah opens. That's why Kalev never tried to contradict the Meraglim. And that's why the sin of the Meraglim was never the fact that what they were relying, everything they said was true. The land is a fortified land. And the people are giants. What was the chet of the egel? Moshe Rabbeinu, the Satan shows you he's dead. Why are you building a golden calf? There's no other. Who's going to take us out? There's no more Moshe Rabbeinu. When all doors close, the doors of Emunah open. That's why the Chet HaEgel Allah b'machshava, because they're repetitious. The same sin that happened in the Chet HaEgel happened in the Chet HaMeraglim. It started in the golden calf and it ended in the Chet HaMeraglim. Comes Kalev ben Yefuneh says, I'm not contradicting what they're saying. I'm contradicting the conclusion. They say Ephes, I say Alo Nale. That's that's the message of this parasha. When you're in a place where all the doors are closed, and your Yetzirah tells you to despair, you say, no, I'm going to be like Kalev ben Yefuneh. Alo Nale v'nochal. A person says, this is where the emunah kicks in. Because emunah is above all logic. Emunah is above all comprehension. When there is no opening, there's emunah.